Hello, welcome to a mini Forest Focus today. Going to try and keep this to 10 minutes or so to discuss a couple of bits of news around Nottingham Forest, give you my take. So do let me know what you think in the comments below after you've watched this video, and do me a favour, hit like and hit subscribe if you don't mind. Would certainly be a big help if you enjoy what you see. So on today's agenda, very quickly, 10 minutes so as I say, is talk of a move for Che Adams. We're revisiting that one from last season, a move for another keeper as we continue to be linked with goalkeepers this summer for cover or competition for Matt Sells, and a little bit on yesterday's vote on VAR and the future of it by Premier League clubs, as they voted pretty unanimously or almost unanimously for VAR to stay. So we'll have some thoughts on that at the end. Kicking off with Che Adams, then he has been linked to Forest again. Fabrizio Romano tweeting that Forest were winning the race to sign him from Southampton on a free this time, after the last time we were linked with him for a fee of around 10 to 15 million. But media in Scotland, the Daily Record, saying that he's going to sign for Wolves, who are the other club in for him. So a bit of, depends who you believe there, a bit of people close by in this area saying that maybe it's more likely he will go to Wolves. So we'll see on that one. I suspect maybe Wolves are winning the race, and there's a bit of agents talk trying to boost a wage package for their client, but I don't know. So we'll see. But if he does sign, I actually think it would be quite a good deal for Forest. He's 27 years old. He'd be on a free. He's got Premier League experience. It was interesting on Thursday, Brian Law was talking about the need for us to have a good mixture of youth and Premier League experience. So he would sort of bolster the squad in an area that needs bolstering. We do need a striker. If he's coming in as third choice or at a push, second choice, then I think it works for Forest. He is a good age. He fits the way we kind of play stylistically, his game, but he doesn't have a great goal record, so you wouldn't be banking on him to necessarily be the man up front. But if he is number 3 behind Wood in a 1 year, or if one of those goes, then it would work. Or he could be second choice striker, certainly. In the Premier League, since he joined Southampton, he has scored 4, 9, 7 and 5 goals each season, respectively. As they got relegated 2 seasons ago, obviously they bounced back. It looks like he's going to move. He can probably get a good deal for himself on a free at his age, no transfer fee, so clubs will give him a little bit more in wages, and it would benefit him. Nice little signing on fee as well, no doubt. So he's an attractive proposition for clubs in the bottom half of the table. Certainly his game suits clubs in the bottom half of the table. Hard worker, good pressing, mobile, decent in the air for his size, played international football for Scotland as well, of course. So he's decent. I did a comparison to see how he stacks up against Chris Wood, who played the majority of our games. So I did Wood this season versus Adams from the 21-22 season, the most recent season where Southampton stayed up. I thought it was more of a fair comparison rather than the season they went down. So Wood got 14 goals last season from an XG of 11. So he slightly overperformed that, which is good because it means he's a good finisher. By contrast, Adams, 7 goals from an XG of 7.1. So that's okay. He scored the goals he should have done and missed the chances he probably should have done, but didn't exceed it. So that worked out at Wood scoring 0.7 goals per game, or this is goals and assists, sorry, 0.75 combined goals and assists per 90. For Adams, it's 0.44. And then from goals per shot, Wood this season just gone was 0.29. And Che Adams in the corresponding season I selected, 2021-22, was 0.14. So that's 0.29 versus 0.14, which shows even with those chances Chris Wood missed at the back end of the season, he was a better finisher. Of course, we know earlier in the season, Wood was absolutely on fire and statistically the best finisher in the Premier League. So Wood gets the edge in front of goal there. Adams, on the other hand, is better when it comes to taking people on, carrying the ball, and they're very similar for aerial duels. So Adams is probably the guy you want to bring off the bench for 20 minutes, good at holding the ball up, taking the sting out of a game, working hard up front, maybe nick you a goal. He does score goals in bunches historically, and then has quite long barren spells. So if you get him on a hot streak, then he's a valuable asset. So yeah, if Adam signs, I'm not sure he will. I'd be on board with that. I know fans have been quite negative, or some have, feeling he's not not the level we need to progress. But as a backup option, then I certainly like it personally. The other one we've been linked with is Carlos Miguel, the goalkeeper from Corinthians. He's 25. He has a release clause of around 3 million to 3.5 million pounds. 6'8", and he's also linked with West Ham. Media saying that he's got to choose between those two clubs, between us and West Ham. Nathan Joyce, who is on our podcast next week, will give more thoughts on him, no doubt. But he was saying on Twitter he's decent with the ball at his feet, but he does make the odd mistake under little pressure, and he tends to punch the ball rather than catch it, which I guess is the South American style of keepers. So he thought he'd be a decent backup option. I've not seen him play. If anyone has, then you're a better man than me. You're more of a football fan than me. But I'll bow down to Nathan's knowledge and look forward to speaking to him next week. But yeah, it sounds like that's the kind of keeper Forest been linked with. That's the second Brazilian keeper around that age, around that price, as someone who could come in and be more cover for Matt Sells than necessarily replacing him, which I think is fine. And the other topic is the VAR vote that we had yesterday. 19 clubs voting to keep VAR, only Wolves voting to get rid of it. Forest, obviously, one of the 19 after their vocal complaints about VAR. But I don't hold it against them particularly that they've decided to keep it. I think they were never saying they wanted rid of it. They just said, well, I think they clearly want it to be executed much better, like we all do. So it doesn't mean, they're getting stick for it. I think that's unfair. They can still complain about VAR. Every fan in the league pretty much thought there was something wrong with it. A lot of fans want to get rid of it, and I can see why. But it does mean that Forest can now lobby from the inside to have it reformed, hopefully. And I think that's part of Wolves' plan as well. Make a big song and dance about it, put it on the table properly, call for it to be gotten rid of, but maybe get some concessions around stadium announcements and that kind of thing, having the referee announce a decision afterwards. So we're stuck with VAR, which isn't a surprise. And hopefully the Premier League do something to make it better. Stadium announcements is a start. Having better referees would be the next step, because if they're rubbish, then we're still going to have the same problems as we saw last season, predominantly for Forest as well, but also, of course, Wolves and every club, really. I'm sure every fan of every club would point to the decision that's gone their way. So I'm not surprised. We are where we are with VAR, but much change is needed to improve it. Semi-automated offsides are coming, and that will help, hopefully, and hopefully speed up some decisions. I think we saw in the Europa Conference final, though, that it still took a long, long time, so it's not perfect. And the question is, do you trade off getting more decisions right, as the Premier League would say, for the fan experience in the ground and on TV, and actually being able to celebrate a goal? It's kind of that emotional argument, I guess. So people can decide either way on that. And then just lastly, quick word for the live show next week, next Thursday. It is Lewis and Gary on the panel. Of course, Greg will be there as well, and then one of the other podcast regulars. So do join us for that if you can. £1 from each ticket will go to charity, as you can see on the screen. If you're watching, we get a lovely crowd along. Good night had by all. I'm sure we'll discuss whatever's happening with Forest at the time. Look ahead to next season in the company of Lewis McGugan and Gary Birtles, and there'll be a raffle, I'm sure. Like I said, £1 from each ticket goes to charity, and we've raised a couple of grand so far along the way for this podcast and our former one when we were Garibaldi Red. So yeah, hopefully see as many people there as possible. Just about kept this to under 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 10 minutes even. So hopefully people enjoyed that. Let me know what you think below about Shea Adams, that Brazilian keeper whose name I've already forgotten, Carlos Miguel, there you go, and the decision to keep VAR. In the meantime, we are back on Monday with a proper podcast from Emily will be on, and one of the other regulars will flesh this discussion out, any other news that emerges over the weekend. But in the meantime, thanks for your company. Have a good day, and we shall see you soon.